When we have that information with a degree of certainty, we will share that. Another bit of news as we were walking up to share this information with you, in addition to getting calls from so many community members expressing concern, as we were notified that our victim, and again our victim is 16 years old, is now in stable condition, which is a sigh of relief for the entire community. He will hopefully be back in a position to be back in school and lead a productive life. So Dr. Reed's going to share some thoughts as well, and then we'll stand ready to take your questions. Dr. Reed.
Thank you, Chief Davis. And I want to begin by just saying that our hearts, our thoughts, our prayers go out to all those directly impacted by the incident today, not just the young men involved in the act of violence, but all the students who observed this, the staff who were a part of this, the families who are at home and worried about this. And our thoughts, hearts, and prayers go out to everyone impacted. I want to say at this time, our school, West Potomac High School, is safe. The situation has been contained, as Chief Davis mentioned. The students are currently going through a modified lunch schedule where they're being supervised more closely. This afternoon, we've brought in counseling teams to meet with our students and staff. And while there's a sense, obviously, of shock that this would happen at West Potomac High School, one of our high schools here in Fairfax County, I'm very proud of the response of our staff to this incident. They responded quickly and admirably, and may have saved a life today. I also want to thank our law enforcement partners. This partnership is critical, and our community is so grateful to have the quality of professionals we have here in law enforcement and as educators. So at this time, students are in classes. I've met with several of the classes, talked with students, talked with staff this morning, and there's obviously a commitment to continuing to move forward. And we've got a lot of weeks left in this school year, and we hope that today's incident is very isolated. So thank you. At this time, because of the seriousness of the incident, we want to make sure students have access to counseling services and are not going out in the community in perhaps unsupervised settings.
So update to a lockdown. Stay put, stay play, proper identification. I have to get my daughter. My daughter's freaking out in there. She wants out of school. Stay put, stay play per Fairfax County Public Schools regulation. A parent with the proper ID and identification can get their kids out of school. So why are you preventing us from doing that?
At this time, we're clearing the scene, and then we'll be able to allow that to occur.
This is a lockdown situation.
It is a combination at this point.
Communication is key in anything like this. So let's call it what it is. It's a lockdown. Let's get that notification out so parents are aware, and we can communicate with our kids who just want to get the hell out of the school.
Thank you.
Doctor, I have one question. Metal detectors, I know this is something that was supposed to be getting set up in schools at Fairfax County. Were metal detectors set up in this school, and if not, why not?
We're currently in the middle of a pilot structure this spring, and they were not in place at this school this morning, but they were at another school in Fairfax County.
Would those detectors have caught tonight?
Scott, I think that it depends on the setting for the detectors. There are a variety of settings, and I don't have information on the length of the knife or the type of knife at this time to correctly answer that. But once we do, we could provide that answer.
Is it your understanding that the knife was brought into school, or was it obtained on the school campus?
I don't have information about that, Scott. The situation's too new.
Doctor, why would this, are you going to cancel classes for the rest of the day?
No, students are still in school for the rest of the day.
Can you talk a little bit about the cell phone policy at this school and how that comes into play in a crisis situation like this?
The cell phone policy, I'm not sure, comes into play in a situation like this.
Parents said they were frustrated that their kids didn't have access to their cell phones to be able to contact them while they were watching somebody bleed on the phone.
Yeah, I've actually not heard that we have a concern at this time with cell phones.
Some of these details with the specifics we can get to for after. We can get the little details with one of those as well.
Please talk about and confirm if both students involved were students at West Potomac High School.
That is correct. Both students involved were students at West Potomac High School and are students at West Potomac High School.
And I have
At
a
this
question
point,
for
can you
police.
say if there are?
I don't have that information at this time.
Before we get to Tom, Hispanic. Tom, both.
You said there were 3 involved. Do we know where the third person is? Are they facing any charges?
Yeah, Tom, thanks for that question. So our victim is 16. The perpetrator is 15. The perpetrator is in custody. A third person who we are questioning, we are not describing him as a person in custody because at the moment we don't anticipate any criminal charges on this third person. He was close enough to the altercation that we want to interview him to figure out what he knows. We have the video just like you have the video, but the video doesn't tell the entire story. So we're interviewing that third person. So 1 victim, 1 in custody. The 1 in custody is 15, and the third person we're speaking to and interviewing is a 15-year-old student as well. But at the moment, we don't anticipate any charges against him. Sure. We're in constant communication with Dr. Reed and her team, and the recent security enhancements that she has made are things that we support as law enforcement. This is a well-regarded, reputable, nationally so, school system, and FCPS, just like our police department, tends to be early adopters with security measures that keep people safe. Is it perfect? No, it's not perfect, but I think the community supports FCPS in their efforts to enhance community, and I know the police department does as well. Any other police questions?
Yeah, I know you all say the school resource officer was there pretty quickly. I mean, this is a massive school. Did they just happen to be in the area, or they rushed to the area?
Well, I don't know, Tom, exactly how close they were, but certainly they rushed to the scene. And I think sometimes at on-scene press conferences like this, we thank the faculty and the staff and Dr. Reed's team, and we thank the cops. But, undoubtedly there were probably some students as well who acted in a way that may have saved lives too. So for the students who had to endure this today, it's tough. They're teenagers, they're kids, they need their parents, they want to talk to their parents. I understand that. You're going to get to speak to your loved ones, but their presence at such a traumatic scene like this is worthy of our attention, and undoubtedly it's going to be worthy of our praise as well, because no doubt in my mind some of them acted bravely as well. And I see additional parents are coming up here, and that just kind of speaks to the strength of this school community. Any other police questions or any other questions for Dr. Reed?
Just to follow up on what Mr. Moda, considering what happened, how traumatic this was, why continue the school?
So at this time, we have counseling support here to work with our students and to provide counseling services on site prior to our students leaving. And to answer the gentleman's question too, our decision around the stay put inside, it's also a crime scene. And so we also have to take direction from law enforcement in terms of the use of certain parts of the building. So
So when are we going to be able to get our kids out of school? That's what I'm hearing. Good news is victim isn't stable. That's great news. The potential stabber is in custody. School is safe as we stand now, correct?
yes, sir.
Why can't I check out my daughter from school right now? That's all I care about, because there's multiple victims in this, and my daughter is one because she witnessed this. She's telling me, Dad, get me out of here. If everything is safe, like you're saying, I have ID, why can't I check my daughter out of school right now?
So I'm going to share that the paramount responsibility of our leadership team is to make sure that our campus is safe at this moment. They're also making sure that our 4 lunch periods happen in a calm and orderly and safe manner.
I don't care about lunch right now. Like, you're worried about lunch.
I guarantee they
I
don't
can
care
check
about
my
lunch.
daughter out yesterday during lunch.
As
I
soon
want
as,
to check my daughter out. Why can't I?
if you can let me finish, as soon as the administrative staff is not focused on the current students in front of them, they're going to be able to have an orderly dismissal before school ends for parents that want to have their students. But they do need to take care of
That's
first
not
things
an
first.
acceptable answer.
So any more questions? I just want to add to the collaborative nature of some of these real-time decisions, and they're tough decisions. a lot of emotions are swirling around, not only outside the school where we are, but inside the school as well. So the last thing we want as responsible adults, whether we're FCPS or FCPD, is to release emotional groups of students and something retaliatory in nature happens down the street this way or down the street that way. So it's always a measured, calculated decision, and inevitably it doesn't make everyone happy, and I think we understand that. So last question. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. You say the emotion. The best way for the children is to be with the father, mom, dad. That's
Absolutely.
the best way to be. My daughter, she's texting me, Daddy, I want to be with you.
Yeah. And
That's
I'll
the
just say,
best thing to be. With mom, with dad, with the brother, with the family.
yeah, and no daughter, your daughter is scared. There's a lot of scared kids.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And
She don't want to
probably
be there because she's scared. She want to be
within a
at
short
home
amount
with
of
mom
time.
and dad.
Within a short amount of time, you're going to hear a subsequent announcement from FCPS regarding what's next. But again, just to reiterate, just a little bit of food for thought as all of our emotions are running high. We don't want to let the school spill out into this residential community and have skirmishes, fights, altercations, and maybe even additional crimes take place. So all those considerations are something that we're thinking about, just like you're thinking about. And I'm sorry your children had to endure what they had to endure today. A lot of people did. So we're going to get them to you safe and sound really, really soon. And we just thank you so much for being here, and thank you all for being here.
How soon is soon?
Yes, sir.
30 minutes, 20, 1 hour?
I don't know, but you're going to know something soon.
Is anybody
So-
able to tell us where in the school this was? It near locker rooms? Was it near English classrooms? Anybody able to say the kind of location within the school?
So it was in a hallway near classrooms. I think that's probably as far as I'll go. But we can add some specificity to this in a follow-up announcement, or if we have to gather again like this tomorrow, we can do that as well. So thank you all.
All right, guys, there you have it. Officials outside of West Potomac High School, where we now know that a student was actually stabbed. That student said to be 16 years old. That student now said to be in stable condition. Another student, actually, that took part with regard to that stabbing, said to be in police custody. Officials stating that the school is safe, the situation is contained, and counselors are now on the property. We're going to bring up video, and as you can see, our very own David Kaplan standing right there. He has been at the scene. We got reports that this actually occurred in the 10 o'clock hour. David is going to go live right on our affiliate, our Fox station, WTTG. Obviously, we are streaming on Fox Local. We know that, yet again, this has happened time and time again. Parents have to be truly concerned. You saw them really frustrated, asking officials why can their children not be released from the actual school site as yet. Officials then stating that, in essence, it is still a crime scene, and they are still working to get all of the details as they continue to unfold. David Kaplan now getting some response from obviously outraged parents. And yet again, when we're able to get to him, we will do so within the hour. Moving on to politics, a new joint of optimism now running through the financial world this afternoon. This after the Treasury Secretary made mention of a potential big deal with China. Meanwhile, Vice President J.D. Vance warned today that Russia, Ukraine must reach a deal or the U.S. will walk away from this process. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more, and boy, has he been patient, Mr. DONTE Mills back here on the Live Zone. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you, Guy. If I can just jump in and say, just to the children in that high school, prayers for them. I know it's a crazy situation. I'm sure they just want to get out of there to their families. My wife is a teacher, and every day, you know, I'm concerned about that. I understand how tough that situation is because they do want to maintain order there. So just sending a prayer to that situation there at the high school.
Yeah, yet again, a very fluid situation. The good news is that we now know the student, the victim that was stabbed, a 16-year-old student, is said to be in stable condition. Yet again, positive news following a horrendous morning at West Potomac High School. In the realm of politics, the big story today, it's all about Wall Street, somewhat bouncing back in a major way. This after the Treasury Secretary made mention of a potential big deal with China. Now, Dante, traders on Wall Street have two things on their mind. One, what's happening with the trade war? And two, what does Trump have to say about the Federal Reserve Chairman, Mr. Jerome Powell? It appears Trump has had a shift in tone regarding both. What say you?
Well, thank God in regards to the Federal Reserve Chairman Powell. I do think there needs to be a separation completely. Mr. Powell has to be able to operate independent from any political assertions. Now, I know that in the past, there's been presidents that's leaned on the Federal Reserve chair before. It's nothing new. I'm glad that he stood strong, which the Federal Reserve chair always does, to provide that stability and let people know that whatever decision he makes as far as interest rates or whatever it is reliable and not influenced by someone else's decision, is his honest assessment of the market. So I'm glad that that situation is resolving itself. Now, with the trade war with China, I'm still in favor of this. I think there had to be a hard reset of this economy. I knew it would not be easy. I also know that the market is kind of hinging on every single word that comes out. They're looking for any reason to be optimistic. So if there's an announcement, publicly or otherwise, that there's negotiations that's happening, that's getting closer with China, there's going to be a surge because people are like, that anticipation is just there. They're just waiting for some exciting news. And I think the market will explode after that and hopefully settle in at a good place. And hopefully long term, this will be a good choice where we have better trade relations, just better trade deals on the table throughout the world because our economy really could use that boost.
Well, speaking of the economy, we know that the CEOs of Walmart, Target, Home Depot, Lowe's, all of which had an opportunity to meet with President Trump yesterday at the White House. All of them told him pretty much one thing. If this doesn't change, the store shelves will very soon end up empty. You think the president took notice?
Again, I hope not. And I just want to caution people that sometimes you have to make tough decisions that are going to squeeze you for a bit. But the hope is that this plan is successful. We all want this plan to be successful because we have then a better American economy on the other side of it. It was going to be a hard reset that really hurt people. And you have these private companies that are saying, yes, this trade war, I can't ship things in right now. There's this tax is kind of holding everything on the water, but it may be necessary. So I hope that he told them to just have patience, to not charge, to pass those charges, to not pass those charges to the American citizens, and that this situation will resolve. Those tariffs will come down. There will be products on their shelves, and that our economy will be in a better place. I don't blame those private companies for going there and saying our bottom line is going to be hurt. But I think ultimately, if this is better for the American people in the long run, we got to stay the course.
All right. Yet again, Donte Mills, political strategist, joining us right here on the Live Zone. Truly appreciate your time, Donte. Thank you so much for being patient. I want to take you back now to West Potomac High School, where earlier today we know that a 16-year-old student was stabbed during a fight. That student now said to be in stable condition. Another student said to be in custody. Our very own David KAPLAN is outside of the school. The school is not on lockdown. However, school officials have yet to let the children out of the school. We see what appears to be a very outraged parent, if you will. Let's go ahead and take a listen in to see what's happening.
O sea, no lo digo porque sea mi hermana la de la iglesia, pero hoy en día hay una familia que está con un hijo que está arrestado, hay una familia que está con un hijo que está en un hospital. Esto puede ser el hijo de cualquiera de nosotros. Entonces, ellos tienen que entender la frustración de todos nosotros. Que nos dejen, que agarremos nuestros hijos. Es lo único que quiero, que me entreguen a mi hijo.
No estamos bien, sí.
¿Usted le conocía a los niños también?
Sí, ellos todos, casi los niños obviamente somos de esta comunidad y la mayoría de los niños, mi hijo los conoce desde que están muy pequeños. De elementary school se conocen.
What's your name, man?
Aileen Fernandez.
Can you spell that right?
Oh, spell it for you?
Yes, please.
A-E-L-L-E-N-E. Last name Fernandez, F-E-R-N-A-D-N-C. Sorry.
¿A qué año van los niños? ¿A qué año van los niños involucrados?
No sé en qué años escolares están. El mío...
My son is freshman.
Él es freshman, el noveno. Sí, tiene 15 años, mi nene, o sea, luchó para estar aquí en el equipo de fútbol.
All right, yet again, what appears to be a very outraged parent. Tensions running high outside of West Potomac High School, where we learned sometime within the 10 o'clock hour, 2 students actually were involved in some form of altercation. A knife was brandished. One of the students then stabbed that student, only identified as a 16-year-old. That student then rushed to the hospital. At last check, said to be in stable condition. That according to officials who just held a press conference about 10 minutes ago. Another student, the student involved in that fight and the alleged assailant, if you will, said to be 15 years old and now in police custody. School officials also stating that the school is safe, the situation is contained, and at this time, counselors are on the property. As you can see, David Kaplan, our correspondent, is actually on the scene right now, gathering all the information. Folks, this is what you call a very fluid situation. It's unfolding right before our very eyes, and yet again, parents truly outraged. And as I stated, tensions remain high outside of West Potomac High School. Let's see if David, it looks like David was about to actually file a report. And so what we'll do is we'll take a quick break. We'll come back, see if we can make contact with David. And if we do so, we'll bring that to you live right here on the Live Zone. Thanks so much for watching, folks. We'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone, where we continue to follow this developing story out of Fairfax County, where a teenager was stabbed and critically injured at West Potomac High School. This is said to have occurred in the 10 o'clock hour. That teen victim then rushed to the hospital, suffering from life-threatening injuries. However, according to officials, at last check, that teen, a 16-year-old teen, said to be in stable condition. Our very own David Kaplan has been on the scene for several hours now and now has the latest. David, what can you tell us?
Guy, definitely an intense scene right now. Emmy, I'm getting a little plus feedback, so I'm going to pull my IFB out. Remains an active scene at this time, and this rest conference just wrapped up. Doug, we're going to give a look over here. You touched on this, Guy. We're hearing a lot of just frustration from parents, and it centers largely around communication from the school to the parents. We just heard from a parent who said that she found out about what was going on from a video that has been shared widely. Fox 5 does have a copy of that video, and it shows exactly what happened. This parent that we just heard from frustrated, and other parents that we've heard from frustrated because they learned about this and what happened through the video before they got word from the school. And then when they did hear from the school, Fairfax County, we're told, has something that's short of a lockdown. Essentially, stay in place, stay put, and in that mode, parents are allowed to come and pick up their kid. If there is a lockdown, parents know that they cannot pick up their kid. So this has not been declared a lockdown. This has been declared the stay in place and stay put. So we're hearing from a lot of parents frustrated about the communication, but also frustrated that they can't get their kids, and parents say that they just want to be able to hug their children in light of what has happened here earlier today. So unclear exactly when these parents may be able to get their kids, but there's certainly a hope that they can sooner rather than later. But again, there is 2 students that were involved with this. One is going to be charged with malicious wounding. The other was transported to an area hospital in what were originally called life-threatening injuries. Now they're being called stable. This student, again, both teenagers here. So that's the very latest here, Guy, as the school starts to continue working this out, and these parents really want to grab their kids.
David, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought I heard school officials state that they were receiving direction from authorities, and in this case, the authorities were still looking at an active crime scene. Did I hear that correctly?
I would need to go back and listen to the exact sort of minutia of what they said, but it's my understanding, based on what Dr. Michelle Reed, the superintendent, said, was just that the school is still sort of active. There is an active investigation happening inside, and sort of the vibe that we're getting from parents is, sure, that's all well and good, but this is not being called a lockdown at this time, which I think is leading to some of the confusion that we're getting from parents, where they are not in a position where they can come pick up their children. So that's exactly just what we're trying to figure out here, and parents are trying to figure out here, is sort of there was a kind of a combination of wanting to connect kids immediately with resources within the school, given the trauma that a lot of these kids have seen this morning, while also continuing the investigation, while also not allowing parents to come and get their kids. So that's been sort of the confusion that's been sort of created as a result of this situation.
Yet again, school officials also stating that counselors are now on the property should any students need counseling. David, I'm hoping you can elaborate, if you will. We know, yet again, the victim is said to be 16 years old, in stable condition. Another student identified as only being a 15-year-old male, now in police custody. We also heard authorities make mention of a third person that is not a suspect in any way, form, or fashion, but they are questioning. Any information about that?
Nothing additional from what we just heard from Fairfax County Police Chief Kevin Davis. They did sort of say that 3 people were involved, but this third person, again, is somebody that police have been talking to, but is not considered a suspect at this time. So, and I believe Chief Davis indicated there might not be any specific charges against that person. So just another kind of component of this investigation, as police are trying to work, Chief Davis specifically mentioning piecing together what exactly happened leading up to this, and what would have caused this. There is, and Chief Davis mentioned this, and we've alluded to this, there is a video that is being widely circulated at this time of what exactly happened and this stabbing, showing a student lying on the ground following the stabbing. So again, there was also some quick action that took place to descend on this student. Obviously, again, they were transported to the hospital with life-threatening injuries, but those injuries have been downgraded, but upgraded to a better situation where the student is stable. But certainly, as you can imagine, given how there's still a lot going on, this definitely remains an active scene and an active investigation, but a fluid one, as you just mentioned before the break, Guy, just given everything that's going on right now with these parents that are waiting to get their kids out of what's been a traumatic morning, out of school after what's been a traumatic morning for these kids, Guy.
Yet again, a horrific incident for all involved. David Kaplan outside of West Potomac High School. We'll let you get back to gathering more information, David. Should you find out anything, please let us know. All right, guys, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Now to a local story that's making national headlines. Yesterday, the Supreme Court listened to a group of parents challenging Montgomery County Public Schools' no opt-out policy for LGBTQ-themed books in elementary school classrooms. Now, the conservative judges, well, they showed skepticism towards the school board's rule, pressing the board's lawyer on why it isn't feasible to let parents opt out. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more is Jessica Lettingham. She is a federal litigator, criminal defense attorney, and happens to also be a Montgomery County resident. She joins us right here on the Live Zone. Jessica, thank you so much for being patient. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me today.
I want to get to, obviously, the topic at hand in just a second, but as a federal litigator, would you like to comment at all with regard to what we just witnessed outside of West Potomac High School in Fairfax County? A number of parents crying foul, outraged. They want to see their children. The school is officially not on lockdown. However, it is still somewhat of an active crime scene. Do you want to speak to that at all?
As a parent, with my oldest being 14, so about to enter high school in Montgomery County, so I'm only 40 minutes away from what we just witnessed, it's pretty terrifying, and you would think that they would have better procedures for this. I mean, we have seen tragedies like this all over the nation, and I think it's time that we see every school have policies in place and are able to discuss the policies with the parents. I think we're having a huge problem with them not communicating what is going on. So it is time that schools have policies like that in place.
All right, let's move on to yet again Montgomery County Public Schools. Parents challenging the no opt-out policy. As you heard me make mention, the conservative justices showed skepticism toward the school board's rule. You, yet again, federal litigator, what say you with regard to what the justices had to say?
So I think we saw yesterday that it was not just the conservative judges that were leaning towards the side of the parents. We actually saw Justice Kagan leaning towards the sides of the parents as well. She is quoted to say, "I too was struck by these young kids' picture books and on matters concerning sexuality. I suspect there are a lot of non-religious parents who weren't all that thrilled about this." And then, add in religion, and that's, even more serious. So I can see this being a decision where it's 7-2. Maybe Justice Kagan would be concurring because she thought that the school board, that the parents were asking for something too vague. But I definitely see the justices going on side of the parents because it follows a trend that we have seen in that parents have the constitutional right to protect their child's religion. They are allowed to make sure that their child is being taught a certain way in public schools.
And I'm glad you touched on that, Jessica. Perhaps I put the cart before the horse, and I'm hoping in layman's terms. Explain what's happening here. I got to tell you, Jessica, I had to go back and read this at least 3 or 4 times before I fully understood what is unfolding right before our very eyes. So for the mom, dad that happens to be watching right now, they're still trying to wrap their head around what's going on. Do tell.
So it was for kids in pre-kindergarten, pre-K, all the way up to 5th grade. So any elementary school in Montgomery County. They distributed books to schools and told teachers that they could use these picture books in English, especially during the Pride Month of June, to teach students about reading. One book that is no longer made available but was to pre-K was called Pride Puppy. Other titles you saw was Prince and the Knight. And, there was one where it was about her uncle marrying his boyfriend, Jerry. And so parents really had a problem with the fact that they could not have their students leave the classroom while these books are being read, while there is instruction being going on. And to make it even further complicated, a lot of people had issues with the fact that they would not even be notified about this. And I can attest to that. My child was in first grade. She read a book like this last year. I had no idea until I asked her about this once I heard about the case. So they do not have to tell you, and the teachers do not have to use it. To make matters even more complicated and to add one more layer on there is that when kids ask questions after reading these books, teachers are supposed to say things such as, we should be inclusive of a man marrying a man or a woman marrying a woman, or Penelope thinking that she's a boy, and I have a friend like this. Now, these are great lessons. Even the conservative justices said this could be an invaluable lesson that we're teaching children. However, there are a lot of religions that have issue with those teachings, and we as the court have always ruled that we cannot, the state and government cannot intrude on the parent's constitutional right to raise their child a certain way.
And so with that being said, and now this actually being presented before the U.S. Supreme Court, the next question is, when should we expect their ruling?
So we typically see rulings in June, very rarely before that, so June or July. And as I said, I would expect to see this as 7-2 with Justice Kagan concurring, because she thinks that the injunction asked for by the parents is a little too broad.
All right. Yet again, we have been speaking with Jessica Lettingham, federal litigator, criminal defense attorney, and Montgomery County resident and parent. Thank you so much for being patient. We truly appreciate you coming on the live.
Thank you so much for having me today.
You're welcome. All right, guys, we'll take a quick break. On the flip side of that break, let's have some fun, shall we? The world famous TV and film producer, Charles Floyd Johnson. He's going to join us next, right here on the Live Zone. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone, you are taking a live look at St. Peter's Basilica. That's where Pope Francis is currently lying in state. The funeral now set for Saturday, and of course, Fox 5 will have all things surrounding that. If you haven't already done so, make sure you download the Fox local app. The year 2018. That's when actress-author Denise Nicholas gathered a group of interested writers in forming a, get this, writing workshop named Longwood Writers Workshop. Now, the Longwood Writers Workshop members were interested in both memoir and fiction writing for a gathering of voices. However, shall I say, this thing called COVID happened. Well, lockdowns were required, and they continued to meet. However, following COVID, the authors came to realize what writers all over the world have always known, and that is writing is rewriting and rewriting once again. Enter a gathering of voices, the result of 6 writers, all with different stories, examining universal truths of their lives. One of those writers happens to be this man, the world famous Charles Floyd Johnson, TV and film producer extraordinaire, and he joins us right here on the Live Zone. Sir, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Well, thank you for having us, and thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to talk about A Gathering of Voices.
I got to tell you, I'm thinking about Magnum PI, super fan, JAG, even bigger fan, NCIS. I can just go on and on. Your work, sir, will stand the test of time. And so I have to ask, you've done so much, you're so well accomplished. What was it about this that you wanted to get involved?
Well, you know, when you've lived a pretty full life and you've had lots of experiences in that life and you've been able to accomplish things, you really want to relate them and sort of give back. And I think that was what I wanted to do, was to give back to young people, to people of my age, just people of all ages, kind of look at how I came through it all.
And so what should we expect, or what should I expect, once I feast my eyes on this amazing book? What is it you want me to walk away with?
The story deals with the challenges that all of us had in life, and dealing with, you know, getting to where you are, dealing with love, dealing with loss, dealing with struggles, and also some of the joys that we've had. There were 6 of us, Guy, as you know, and Denise Nicholas put it together, and we were all seasoned writers and mature writers by the time we got there. So we had a good time around Denise Nicholas's dining room table, talking about the memoirs we wanted to do. And, you know, as you said, COVID came, and then we decided, let's do something with all these pieces. But once we did that, we had to focus it so that readers could see how all the pieces went together. So I want you to take away that it's a joy to live life, it's a joy to deal with life, and then to come through hopefully good on the other side.
Yeah. Sir, had someone walked up to me and said that you alone happen to be the author, I would immediately go and grab it. But there happen to be 5 others as well, and it's kind of like the way I look at it, and I guess in the young folk terms, it's like you all are the Avengers. You combined, you're all superheroes, and you all came together. And so with that being said, wow, yet again, such an amazing cast of different characters, all with a different story to tell.
Well, you know, as you know, there's Denise Nicholas, who started out early in her career on Room 222, and then she went to In the Heat of the Night. She's done many other things. She's an author, and about to come out with a memoir herself. Hattie Winston, who's been in theater for years, and both Denise and Hattie were with the Negro Ensemble Company before they got together with this book. And then we had a doctor, Dr. Otto Stallworth, is an anesthesiologist, a woman from the business sector, and then a writer. So we had lots of different points of view.
Yeah. And so with this, yet again, I would highly encourage folks to not only grab it now, but right now, and truly learn of the many things that you had to deal with, along with the others throughout your career. I'm sitting here looking at my notes yet again. I mean, Red Tails, dear God, I could go on. John Lewis, Get in the Way. Sir, yet again, you are so accomplished, so successful, and I just say thank you for taking time out to share with us some of the trials and tribulations perhaps you faced throughout your career.
Yeah, I'm glad to be able to share them with you, and there are also amazing stories from the other people. And we came from, one last thing, we came from all different parts of the country. Patty was from Mississippi to New York. Dr. Stallworth was from Birmingham. Denise from Detroit. I, of all places, was from Delaware. So, you know, we had different cultural, geographical, sociological different entries into this work, and it shows in the book.
Yeah, the one thing I love about Delaware, no state tax. Dear God, I wish we had that right here.
That's a good thing. and we know corporations love it.
Mr. Charles Floyd Johnson, the one and only at that. joining us right here on the Live Zone. Sir, thank you so much for being patient. We truly appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, guys, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Joined now with producer Chris with all things sizzling.
I take a lot of pride in my work. I like to think that I am a creative producer. I like to think that I, after nearly 2 decades in this business, know how to put on live TV. But I bow down to the masters at inside the NBA. People I respect very highly have called it the most watchable show on TV, and it is very hard to argue with them, especially after the hijinks of the last few days. If you aren't familiar with what happened, I want you to watch 2 nights ago, Monday night, inside the NBA, what happened to Shaq. Take a look.
The other thing about Kawhi is, you know, you all right, big fella? You know, catching a cramp?
Go ahead, keep talking, Chuck.
Yeah, we on TV.
I know what we're doing. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's that olive oil you've been drinking.
I know.
Hey, take some matches with you. Hey, listen, he couldn't hold it.
He can't hold it.
After 40, he can't hold it no more.
That's at first.
He can't hold it.
Unless he's got something. That wasn't something planned, was it?
No,
that was
not planned. Hey, listen, he was in the back talking about he's going to drink alcohol to clear up his
No, he's been drinking the olive oil.
Drinking olive oil, can't hold it after 40, runs off set in the middle of the show. He was gone for several minutes, at which the other guys, and if you know the other guys, we're talking about Sir Charles, as I like to call him, Sir Charles Barkley, Ernie, and Kenny, had a lot of fun at Shaq's expense. Not only did they have some fun at his expense, they went on for several minutes just joking about what could have been happening, making sure they had his mic turned off, which, as you know, in this business is key when you are using the restroom. Now, I will say, when Shaq came back, they not only had slow-mo replay of his slow shuffle off the set there, they also sat there and just, you know, they did what they do. They had so much fun at his expense. Shaq apologized to America.
Did he?
He did. He also scolded his teammates for talking too much, saying that he was trying to wait until a commercial break, but they weren't going to commercial. Now, that happened on Monday night. Last night, of course, you know, the guys had to have some fun with it. So, at Shaq's expense, they had a porta potty on set set up next to him, which apparently Sir Charles never even noticed, walked right by. So, of course, they had to have some more fun at his expense. Eventually, Shaq did go into that porta potty. No word whether he actually used it or not. But look, when you gotta go, you gotta go. And Shaq, of course, no shame in his game, in the middle of the live broadcast, just running off set.
I can't believe he apologized to America. I mean, either apologize to America or apologize to those guys that he sits next to, because...
But look, I have to say, just from the level of attention that control room was paying to not only just, you see him get up and start running off, they zoom out, they follow him the whole way, the door closing as he leaves. Just the reaction from all the other panelists, it is TV at its finest.
Yeah, and it all surrounds taking a, well,
exactly,
can't say that.
exactly. I was showing Guy what I labeled that story. Not safe for work wording. Let's just put it that way.
All right. So back in my day, well, I guess back in everybody's day in elementary school, at some point you had that class called home ec. Is that what it was?
Home economics. I never had it.
Really?
I feel a little cheated, to be honest with you, and I blame it for the fact that it took me a little longer than most people to kind of get that word I used earlier, I couldn't use earlier, together, to get my you-know-what together. Listen, for a lot of students back in the day, home ec was a time to learn some real life essentials, cooking, cleaning, sewing, etc. However, over time, as budget cuts hit, those sort of classes were cut from the curriculum. But now, as we see a lot of, listen, I don't mean to point a finger at Gen Z, but a lot of people who are lacking those basic life skills, there's a new push nationwide in some school districts to bring it back in a more modern way. And listen, we have seen a lot of younger people who lacks those sort of basic life skills, and they get mocked for it. So we made it the topic of our Fox 5 Live Insta poll this morning on the Lion Lunch Hour, asking if you like the idea of bringing back home ec or not. And I have to say, for the first time, I think since I've built an Insta poll, 100% support for the idea of bringing it back. Now, we've kind of talked about this before because, you know, I'll be honest with you, I don't use algebra all that much. Okay?
Who does,
it was
by
a
the
class
way?
that I absolutely had. But you know what I never learned
What's
about
that?
compound interest?
Yeah.
How to, credit card debt.
Wow.
How to balance a checkbook, which, I mean,
Don't forget
I
about
eventually
that thing,
learned it.
that credit score thing.
Credit score thing, stock market, investing.
Yep.
Do you like the idea of bringing back a home economics with a more modern twist?
Yeah, so many times our parents, and no slight at them, but they didn't put us in a position to fully understand it and comprehend it. And sometimes it's a little bit too late, i.e. my first credit card in college ran it all the way up.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not alone,
right there
though.
with you.
Yeah,
right there
so
with
I
you.
say bring it back.
I absolutely love the idea of teaching these sort of life skills that you don't necessarily, unless you're really proactive as a child type of a thing, or your parents make you have to learn how to cook. It's something you just kind of end up picking up on your own.
Yeah, wow. Well, yet again, some of the things you learn right here on the Live Zone with the one and only producer Chris. Sizzling topics. Appreciate you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Well, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. now announcing a ban on a number of artificial food dyes used in the nation's food. 8 petroleum-based synthetic dyes are now on the list in a move cheered by food activists. Kennedy expected to make that announcement sometime later this afternoon. He previously said that he wants all artificial dyes phased out within 2 years. Joining us now to discuss this is Dr. Sogol Ash. She is a functional medicine doctor and a toxicologist, and kind enough to join us right here on the Live Zone. Dr. Ash, good to see you, and thank you so much for coming on the show.
Of course, thank you for having me.
All right, we're talking dyes, and I got to tell you, the first thing that popped in my mind, I remember as a kid, and I don't want to date myself, but I remember I was forbidden from having red Kool-Aid. Why? Because the dye would make me super active. But I guess there's some truth to that, and my mom was actually right.
Your mom was absolutely right. So studies have constantly been linking these dyes to symptoms like hyperactivity, mood swings, restlessness, poor sleep, and particularly in sensitive children.
And so with that being said, I guess, is this the right move by, yet again, Mr. Kennedy and the Trump administration in order to forbid this or remove this from, let's say, the everyday American?
Absolutely. I mean, we're behind. Other countries like the EU has already banned them, or they require warning labels for these kinds of things. The artificial dyes may seem harmless, but they interact with the body in very real ways. They're chemical stressors that can affect sensitive systems like our brain, our gut, our immune system.
And so with that being said, Dr. Ash, okay, you heard my story, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other folks watching, they're saying, hey, that was me too. Well, now that this has happened, what about me? Should I be concerned about all the time I consumed all of that red-colored Kool-Aid as a child?
That's a great question. So in functional medicine, what we care about is your cumulative toxic load over time. So if you were, eating them as a child, but then you took a break and you haven't had them in 20 years, then your body's probably processed a lot of it out. But over time, if you continue to expose yourself to toxins, and if you're, having these dyes, they're also in shampoos, in toothpaste, in a lot of other products, then that's when you want to start, being concerned and working on detoxing these things out of your body. So what we really care is we don't care about just having one snack here or there over the years. We care about cumulative toxic load.
And so, yet again, well, I'm thinking, and I hate to keep on bringing this topic back up, but that's just my experience. I remember drinking that red Kool-Aid. Will it change the taste for, let's say, all these dyes that are now going to be removed from the products that we're so used to eating and drinking? Will it have any effect in that realm?
It really shouldn't. It's really more for color and look. Because they can give you the same color with beet juice and other things. The reason they use the dyes is because they're really heat stable and shelf stable. So it's much easier to create products with these dyes rather than something natural like beet juice. But it shouldn't be changing the taste at all. There's no nourishment in the dyes.
Last but not least, let's talk about behavioral problems. You heard me getting very hyperactive, but should we expect perhaps bad behavior as well as a result of these dyes?
Yeah, so we should be expecting a change in behavior because the dyes have constantly been linked to things like hyperactivity, irritability, mood swings, meltdowns, tantrums, I can go on and on, especially also digestive issues. So I've seen in practice, when we clean up a kid's diet, the parent says it's like, I got my child back, right? The child also feels better and they start wanting to stay away from the dyes because they notice that they feel better as well. So I think we can expect our country to be healthier as a result of this.
Yeah, well, I'll say, Mom, if you're watching, that's why I had those temper tantrums. It wasn't me. It was because of the red dye. Yet again, we've been speaking with Dr. Sogol Ash.
Often it's really not the kid's fault most of the time. It's really a lot of what they're exposed to, unfortunately.
In that case, I'm owed an apology. Thank you so much, Dr. Ash. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We truly appreciate you.
Yeah, good to see you.
All right, guys. We are now 1 minute past the top of the hour. I want to recap our top story this afternoon. Yet again, a stabbing inside West Potomac High School. Let me reframe what happened, if you will. This taking place in the 10 o'clock hour this morning. We know that 2 students were involved in some sort of altercation. A knife was brandished. The 16-year-old student was then stabbed, rushed to the hospital, suffering from life-threatening injuries. We were then told that student is now in stable condition. A 15-year-old student was then taken into custody. Another student was then actually apprehended, but was not deemed a suspect, but questioned. Just about an hour ago, officials held a press conference outside of West Potomac High School. Let's take a listen. All right, so it appears we've actually lost audio with regard to that press conference that took place yet again happening outside of West Potomac High School. Our very own David Kaplan has been there throughout the morning and afternoon and is still gathering information. We can tell you following that press conference, which, by the way, officials stating that the school is safe, the situation is contained, and counselors are on the property as well. Immediately following that press conference, and hopefully we'll be able to pull up video of that as well, a number of parents were literally outraged. The school is not officially on lockdown. However, they were prevented from actually retrieving any of their children. According to school officials, they were actually receiving direction, if you will, from authorities in that the school was still an active crime scene and they were still concerned about potential fights breaking out. Yet again, the school not on lockdown. So parents very confused and outraged, in essence calling for the release of their children. We're going to continue to monitor this developing story throughout the afternoon. See if we can get another live report from our very own David Kaplan. You're watching the Fox 5 Live Zone. We'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. It's time for a celebration in a major way. Why? Because we are celebrating all things YouTube. YouTube is turning, can you believe it, 20 years old. From the 19-second clip that started it all to billions of hours of videos, music, podcasts, the platform has literally transformed the way we are entertained and connect with the world in just 2 decades. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more is Sarah Armstrong, YouTube trends expert, and she's kind enough to hang out with us right here on the Live Zone. Good to see you, Sarah.
Thanks for having me.
Where's the confetti at? I expected, balloons and maybe a band behind you and the whole nine.
I know, right? That'll be a little bit later. I need some balloons, something a little more shimmery for this occasion.
Sarah, this is just really awesome. I think of the first YouTube video I actually watched, and I think it was the dentist one where the kid or whoever got out, left the dentist and was acting a little loopy. And so fast forward some 20 years, and we're just thinking back to all the amazing videos that have been uploaded throughout those 2 decades.
Right. David After the Dentist is one of my favorites, too.
Hold that thought for me for just 1 second. Actually, as you know, when it's happening and it's live, we're going to take you there. In this case, we'll take you to San Francisco, where, as you can see, Nancy Pelosi now speaking. This surrounds all things with regard to the Trump economic impact. Let's take a listen in.
Party for a long time has been so enthusiastic about small business. We see it as the ultimate job creator, wealth creator for our country, and those who engage in small business are the most optimistic. What is more optimistic than starting a small business? Maybe getting married, but maybe you have some more confidence there about what might happen. So thank you for your courage, your optimism, because that, again, is the lifeblood of our economy. We look forward to hearing your stories. The Trump administration's ineptitude is tanking our economy, a self-inflicted disaster that leaves hardworking Americans bearing the brunt of the pain. Make no mistake, President Trump's senseless tariffs are driving prices higher, draining retirement savings, look at 401ks, and pushing us to the brink of recession. Here in San Francisco, Trump's economic policies are hurting small business owners and their employees by instilling fear and uncertainty. But business has enough uncertainty as it is when you go forth. You don't need civic uncertainty of this magnitude. And across the country, working families could see their costs go up as much as $4,600 a year, the largest tax hike on American families in history. I'm fond of certain quotes from Ronald Reagan. He made the best speech of anyone on immigration. I recommend you see that. It was the last speech he made as President of the United States. And it's on, he says, I want to communicate a message to a country I love. And he talks about the Statue of Liberty and immigration. When I quote that to the Republicans, they don't applaud. But nonetheless, now I quote this to them. In 1988, President Reagan said, America's most recent experiment with protectionism was a disaster for working men and women of this country. When Congress passed the Smoot-Hawley tariff in he goes back then to when Congress passed the Smoot-Hawley tariff in 1930, we were told that it would protect America from foreign competition and save jobs in this country. The actual result was the Great Depression. He continued, we should beware of the demagogues. This is Reagan talking in 1988. We should beware of the demagogues who are ready to declare a trade war against our friends, weakening our economy, our national security, and the entire free world, while cynically waving the American flag. Ronald Reagan. He then goes back to the 1930s when it was Smoot-Hawley. He said when he made his first vote for President of the United States as a young person, he voted for Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who overturned the Smoot-Hawley. I just thought I'd throw that part out. Ronald Reagan's words were true then and in 1988, and they are true now. With the Trump tariffs fully in effect, and again, all the uncertainty. Now you see it, now you don't. Well, maybe so, maybe not. San Franciscans will pay more for groceries, shoes, and clothing, household necessities, auto parts, recreational items, you name it. While Trump doesn't care about the pain of the American people, he should have recognized the fear that he is causing, and that House Democrats are gathering across the country to stand united against his reckless economic policy. So again, really, that's what we're doing across the country this week. This is a weekly. Some of you were with us when we had the hands off our Medicaid, hands off our Social Security, and now we're talking about our economy writ large. The best way to talk about that, though, is to hear from our small business folk. It's now my pleasure to introduce Lauren Crabb, founder and owner of an incredible small business in San Francisco, Andy Town Coffee Roasters. Thank you, Lauren, for being with us, and I yield the floor to you.
It's an honor to be here, and I'm going to move this mic up a tiny bit. Thank you so much for that introduction, and thank you, Madam Speaker, for inviting me to share my story today. My name is Lauren Crabb, and I'm the co-owner of Andytown Coffee Roasters in the outer Sunset of San Francisco. My husband, Michael, who is here making you all coffee this morning, also an immigrant. There's an asterisk on there because immigrants build small businesses here. My husband and I met working as baristas, dreaming of one day opening a shop in the neighborhood that we love. In 2014, we made that dream a reality with Andytown. From the start, our goal was simple: build the kind of business we always wish we could work for. One that pays a living wage, offers healthcare and paid time off, and creates a welcoming, inclusive work environment. Over the last 11 years, we've grown Andytown from a tiny cafe to 9 locations with a bakery and roastery. And we've kept our headquarters where we all started, the outer Sunset. We've faced a lot in those 11 years. We've bootstrapped our business, survived COVID, and weathered supply chain breakdowns. Coffee is an international product, and the industry is constantly shaped by global forces: climate change, labor shortages, and now tariffs. The tariffs imposed by the Trump administration will significantly raise the cost of coffee because you simply cannot grow coffee in the continental United States. Our beans come from partners around the world: Guatemala, Brazil, Colombia, Ethiopia, Rwanda, the Philippines, and Indonesia, just to name a few. We prioritize sourcing from women-owned coffee farms and farms committed to environmental sustainability and uplifting their communities. We pride ourselves in sourcing the same coffee year over year from our partners, and we have seen in person how our relationships have positively impacted our suppliers from around the world. Back home, we don't want to raise prices, especially on our customers who are already stretched thin. In the past, I've had to raise prices for good things: offering health insurance to our employees, raising wages. Those were good reasons. But raising prices due to arbitrary federal policy, that's unfair to us and to our community. Small businesses like ours don't have lobbyists. We don't get to sit at the table like billionaires and big tech, but we deserve to be heard. We serve our neighbors every day. We build communities. We keep going even when things get tough. So I'm asking, don't tax our coffee. Don't put this burden on the small businesses and working people. I'd like to remind everyone that a few hundred years ago, American patriots dumped tea into Boston Harbor to protest unfair taxation. So the message still rings true: do not tax our caffeinated beverages or there will be trouble. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Lauren. You are reminding me, and again I refer you, because we want to hear from our guest, to a speech by Martin Luther King when he talked about trade. He said, just remember that every morning when you go to have breakfast, you have coffee from overseas. You have marmalade on your toast from other places. It goes on to list all the things at your table at breakfast. Lauren, you gave that presentation very well. Next, again, there's a lot I could say about each of them, but I want you to hear from them directly. So Jeannie Taggart-Bowes, CEO, General Manager of the San Francisco Flower Market. Thank you very much, Jeannie.
Thank you, Speaker Emerita Pelosi and your team for spotlighting how cost of living is squeezing small businesses that give San Francisco its heartbeat. I'm Jeannie Taggart-Bowes, Executive Director of the San Francisco Flower Market, now proudly operating as a sister organization to the Produce Market, and we've helped this city bloom for 113 years. We're home to 22 small businesses, supporting 350 blue-collar jobs, and have 4,000 registered buyers in our market who represent small businesses from florists, interior designers, restaurants, hotels, churches, and everything in between. The Flower Market is more than a place of commerce. It's an anchor institution in a creative and service-based economy that defines San Francisco's identity. In 1970, San Francisco was home to more flower shops and flower stands than any U.S. city. Today, many florists have been priced out of retail spaces and now work in garages or shared warehouses just to survive. However, when the pandemic shut down this city, flowers filled a void, brightening home offices, decorating quiet spaces, and helping people express feelings they could not. When retail reopened, we responded by bringing large-scale floral installations to Union Square, the Castro, West Portal, the Sunset, North Beach, and Union Street, helping revive corridors that were struggling. We helped launch Union Square in Bloom, now going on in Union Square, and worked to revive American Tulip Day, where 80,000 tulips are dispensed to San Franciscans in Union Square, transforming public plazas into joyful flower-filled destinations. San Francisco is a flower-consuming city. Conventions, events, restaurants, weddings, hospitality. Flowers are part of an economic and cultural fabric. But our small businesses are being pushed to the brink. Rising labor and fuel costs, soaring rents, unfair competition from abroad, where flower farms often operate with fewer labor protections and environmental standards. They're making it hard for our businesses to survive, and many aren't. Last year, California's largest tulip grower closed its doors. This week, another major flower grower listed their greenhouses for sale and stopped production in our state. There are no carnation growers left in the United States. Of what was once a thriving rose industry, only 3 rose growers are left in the US, and one of them is currently for sale. While we haven't yet felt the full impact of new tariffs, importers are preparing to pass those costs on, which will hit our small businesses. But what's really affecting us right now is our current weakening dollar, the unstable exchange rate, driving up the cost of imported flowers and supplies, making it hard for our vendors to plan, price, and stay competitive. At the flower market, much like the produce market, we move perishable products on tight timelines. When a flower fills a ballroom, it sets off a chain of reaction of work, of pastry chefs, musicians, bartenders, baristas, linen services, and more. This is what makes San Francisco special. It's not just innovation, it's interconnection. That's why we fight, not just for floriculture, but for every small business trying to hold on to its place in San Francisco. And thank you for listening to our story.
I mentioned Laurie Poston at the beginning. I'm going to yield to her now. Again, Laurie is a board member of the San Francisco market. Thank you, Laurie, for being with us.
On behalf of the Board of Directors, merchants, farmers, and our community partners, we thank you for joining us here today. My name is Laurie Poston, and I am the treasurer of our volunteer board of directors. Thank you, Speaker Emerita, for joining us today, and thanks to all of the businesses that are here for this important discussion. An important thank you to Arcadios for welcoming us to this perfect space for this conversation. Thank you. The SF Market is San Francisco's only wholesale produce market and a vital hub for our city's food system. We're home to nearly 18 independent merchants, and together with Arcadios, they work overnight to provide fresh produce, 1 million pounds, to various restaurants, grocers, caterers, schools, and other food-related businesses. We also play a vital role in the Bay Area's food infrastructure. We connect 350 growers over 38 counties to the vital food community of San Francisco. And our award-winning food recovery system, which accounts for the most amount of recovered food in San Francisco, is delivering or redirecting 9 million pounds of quality produce to food insecure Bay Area residents through our partners. So we're very pleased to have you all here today. And again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Laurie, for your leadership and for your hospitality today. And now it's appropriate, for having heard from Laurie about the San Francisco market, I want to hear more specifically and share with you some of what we saw on our tour. Juana Posadas and Manny Orozco. They're Juana is the general manager of Arcado Produce. Manny is the co-owner of Arcado Produce. And that's it from both of them. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Manuel Orozco. I'm a co-owner with my brother Luis. We started this company as a dream in 2010. We only a few customers. Right now we have more than 300 customers, and we are working basically with restaurants, hotels, caterings, non-profits, senior centers, and schools. Because the amount of customers we have very diversified customers. So our product is sourced from the US the most, but at the same time we need to search for those items out of some other countries to supply what customers need. And we've been having a lot of questions from customers and calls, and Juanita is going to talk a little bit more about that.
Hi. Good morning, my name is Juana. I'm the General Manager of Arcadius Produce. As Manuel Orozco already mentioned, we receive calls from our clients asking about the impact that the small businesses are going to have about the tariffs. So they're a little concerned because they're asking us if the prices are going to increase like so much. They need to figure it out what are they gonna put in their menus, if they need to increase the prices because they are worried that their food cost is gonna go like super high. So at that moment we don't have the answers for them because we don't know when is this gonna take place. Like Manuel mentioned before, in order to supply their needs, we need to get products from different countries to sell them. So they're a little worried. I think everybody's worried because the tariffs are going to impact everyone, not only the small businesses. They're going to impact everyone here and whatever, any place too. So that's it.
Marla and Manny, tell us the interconnection of it all. Their customers are largely nonprofits, but also restaurants and the rest. And as the economy is impacted by these reckless trade policies, it has an impact across the board. If the restaurants cannot thrive, then flowers and food and all the rest are affected by this. So now we're going to hear from Kevin Tang. He has a very interesting small business. You have to hear it directly from him. I'm another generation to understand exactly what it is, but I do appreciate it. Thank you, Kevin, for being here.
Hello and good morning to everyone. My name is Kevin. I am a co-owner of a small business called Sarong Hello. We are a K-pop store based in San Francisco. We're along Tarryville Street. And if you don't know what K-pop is, you've probably heard BTS and Blackpink. So we are a 100% import business, and thank you, Madam Speaker, for having us today and giving us the opportunity to kind of share our story for the small business. Me and my co-owners, Pip and Chess, we started this business back in 2020, right before the pandemic hit, and we had no choice but to push through with the plans of starting our business. We are the first K-pop store based here in Northern California. We're also one of the largest. And I'm pretty sure we've also pioneered a lot of other small businesses to open up their own K-pop store. We decided to start our business with one goal in mind. We wanted to create a safe space for the younger generations to come in, express themselves, feel safe, and just share their love and experience for music. It could be anything, South Korean music, pop music, anything, but we specialize in K-pop. And we're about to hit our 5th year next month, which is great. I think for a small business, achieving that 5th year is a very big goal. And And we personally have been through a lot already, having to start a business during the pandemic, but we also took that as an opportunity to be creative, to put ourselves out there and to basically fill in a lot of shoes that we couldn't at that time. With the whole tariff discussion, even just to mention the tariff, we ourselves have been already affected 100% right away, because we offer a service where we allow people to pre-order items, pre-order albums, and those things are already prepaid, but with the whole tariff situation, it changes the whole pricing model. And not only does it affect us as a small business, but it also affects our community as well. Our community, as you already know, everyone's stuck in social media, everyone has their phone in their hands, they're on TikTok, Instagram, whatever, consuming all these media. They have also expressed to us about how afraid they are of all the uncertainty, of all the confusion, of just not knowing what to do with their future. And it's difficult for us as business owners, who is that positive force, to continue to be positive, because we ourselves are feeling that fear. And so I know as a small business, it's part of our job to kind of tackle all these challenges, but it is getting a little more difficult as the days go by, and we're taking it a day at a time. But we're not a 9-to-5 business, we're a 24/7 business. And it's not like we can put in our 2 weeks notice to close our business down. It takes months, as we all know. And so I think with all of the uncertainty that's happening right now, we're trying to stay hopeful, we're trying to be creative, and we are hoping for a resolution and an answer, and hopefully seeing that light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you so much for having me.
That was wonderful. Now we understand what young people are sensitive to what is happening in the economy. Sarah Razavi, we talked about products, we've talked about music, we've talked about trade and the rest. But essential to small business is financing. And that's what Sarah's going to talk to us about. Working Solutions Community Development Financial Institution. Thank you, Sarah, for making small businesses possible with the trust you place in them.
Good morning, and thank you so much for this opportunity, Speaker Pelosi. My name is Sarah Razavi, CEO of Working Solutions CDFI, a community lender specializing in small businesses, specifically microloans. We were founded and are headquartered in San Francisco, but serve the entire state. In our work, we witness the daily resilience of entrepreneurs like Kevin and Lauren and Juana and Manuel, who choose to locate their businesses here in San Francisco because they care deeply about the city. San Francisco is a beautiful place with intentions to love and respect all, but it has also always been an expensive place to do business. While we appreciate California and specifically San Francisco's leadership on many employment and small business issues, including base hourly wages, the reality is that the cost of labor and healthcare significantly narrow margins for small businesses operating here. As a lender, we have always seen the hard decisions business owners have had to make. But under the current federal administration, we are witnessing how the volatility from incoherent trade policies is making it even more difficult for businesses, especially the smallest businesses, the startups, the mom and pops that we serve, to make the careful calculations they need to make to survive and to do right by their employees and their customers. Because of the increase in cost of goods and the general cost of living, we see a cascade of hard choices being made by both business owners and consumers. People are foregoing one essential for another. Do they pay the electric bill, or the supplier, or the staff? People are nervous about their and their loved ones' jobs, creating an environment of uncertainty that makes it difficult to sustain both business and livelihoods. The telling indicators of economic hardships are becoming increasingly visible. For example, like many lenders, we're seeing delinquencies tick upwards. When people start missing payments on their cars and lower cost, smaller credit obligations, these are the early warning signs that the economy is not all right. So first, we thank these wonderful entrepreneurs for the dedication to their hometowns across the state and our country, and especially here in San Francisco. And we thank Speaker Pelosi and her colleagues for fighting for the economic policies and the support that our local businesses desperately need and richly deserve. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Sarah. This uncertainty enables us to just take advantage of the situation and plant a flag for small business. So everyone recognizes that it is, again, the lifeblood of our economy, job creation, wealth creating, and the rest of that, and is the courage, the optimism, the enthusiasm, the entrepreneurship, the risk-taking that our guests have spoken to, have addressed, is something that is so remarkable for a community. So we want the administration to hear the voices of those who are affected, not to tell them about it, but to have the people directly affected tell them about what the uncertainty is doing to business, to small business, and to families who depend on that. With that, we'd be happy to take some questions on this subject. Right? They'll take the hard ones, I'll take the easy ones. Any questions for the press? Yes, ma'am.
Speaker Pelosi, thank you for being here. My name is Coleman, I'm from the San Francisco Chronicle. President Trump's administration has less than 90 days to negotiate deals with 75 countries that supply these products that the small businesses are relying on to keep costs low. Is there anything that you and House Democrats can actually do to facilitate those deals? Because it sounds like that's what these small businesses want, is for the tariffs to not take effect.
Well, that's what we're doing this week across the country, to have that drumbeat across America so that the administration hears the voices of those, not in a partisan way, but in a practical way as to what they mean. Now, the Secretary of Treasury, was it this morning, he said something like, they have like a three-step thing. First, escalation. We're going to raise the tariffs all over, and that's frightening. Then negotiation. Okay, now negotiation, when is that happening? And then at the end, we may not have an agreement, but we will just move on and have some solution, but it's not an agreement. And without an agreement, we're just fooling ourselves as to what he has done. No matter what happens in these negotiations, he still has that 10% out there, which is a big increase in the tariffs. So this is a really stupid approach that this administration is taking. And they're saying, well, we're close with this country or that country, but we may not have an agreement. We'll just have friendship or something. But that's not the certainty that our small businesses need, whether you're flowers from, I talked to the former president of Colombia recently about flowers coming from Colombia. We've been in the Caribbean where flowers come here from the Caribbean to make sure that, again, that we have fair trade, that what they're sending here is not undermining our workforce. But so you have understandings, but that isn't what escalation created in terms of the uncertainty. So again, what we can do is just keep saying, understand this. When he did the pause, he didn't know what he had done in the first place. So when the business community, big business community said, look what's happening to the bond market because of what you're doing to the stock market, he then put the pause on. And then, he said, this is how I planned to do it all along. Really? Really? To have that uncertainty. So it doesn't look like, we don't even know who's calling the shot, whether it's the president, whether it's Navarro, whether it's Secretary of Treasury, but they seem to be saying different things. So all we can do is recognize the importance of outside mobilization. Inside maneuvering, all of that is important, but the outside mobilization makes all the difference. So that's why I'm so grateful to for your unselfish taking the time, but also the courage to come out and speak of your situations. And this is happening, as I say, around the country. And hopefully they will listen to small businesses as they listened to big business in that room when they first did the tariffs, and then they did a pause because of the bond market, which was important for them to do. But we shouldn't have been in that situation to begin with. Okay, other question? Yes, ma'am.
Speaker Emeritus, this is Maria from the Spanish Station here in the Bay Area. Due to current immigration laws, there's a lot of fear developed in the community. People are scared of going out. And we're seeing a lot of businesses, small businesses hurting because people don't want to go. They don't want to go out because of strong immigration policies. How concerning it is not only happening here in San Francisco, nor the Bay Area, but nationwide?
Well, you very rightly put the connection between security, the immigration issue, as well as what the impact on small business. First of all, many of our small business people are from immigrant communities. That's okay, I'll get it later. That is from the immigrant community, because so much of the vitality of the optimism of people come in. I could get to Ronald Reagan's other quote on immigration, because they are tied together. But the fight on immigration is one that has to be bipartisan, secure our border, but recognize, I mean, even our children are concerned if they think that officials are going to arrive at their school, even to come to talk about food. And food, so you're quite correct that it is, has an impact. I don't know, I can't measure what that is, but it is a reality, and it isn't one that makes much difference to the President of the United States. Let me just go back to Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan said, "This is the last speech I will make as President of the United States." Imagine, Ronald Reagan, the great communicator, this is the last speech I will make as President, and I want to communicate a message to a country that I love. He starts out, you'll Google it, I won't do the whole speech. You'll Google it, but he talks about the Statue of Liberty, the beacon of hope that it is to the world, and how America is preeminent in the world because we have been welcoming to people coming to our country with their enthusiasm, with their optimism, with their courage. And that, all of that immigration has made America preeminent, he says, in the world. Once we close that door, we will fail to be preeminent in the world. Now, he and then George Herbert Walker Bush, following him, and George W. Bush were all very strong respecters of immigration. This is a switch in the Republican Party not to be recognizing what that is and try to have a bipartisan solution to protect our border, to have a path to citizenship. All the things that are principles of immigration have been principles of immigration in our country. But again, elections have ramifications. We're not here to talk about elections today, but they have ramifications. And sadly, if you take the trade and you take the immigration, you take other things, the list is a long one, we have important work to do, and that's what we're doing today, is to make sure they understand that that these tariffs, this is a president who ran on lowering the cost of living, and what has he done but raised it? And again, as you say, has an impact. His other policies are connected and have an impact on small business. Thank you for making that connection. Do we have time for another question? Does anybody else have a question? No? On this? Well, wait a minute. I just want to see if any of our, I'll come back to you, any of our guests have any observations about what we've heard from all these folks. Any of these questions?
all of our businesses are interconnected. Everything in San Francisco is connected.
Well, the interconnection of the businesses all connected is very important, and you've all made that point very beautifully. Thank you. I want to know, how did you name it Andytown?
Andytown is a place in Belfast in Ireland where my husband's from. So it's yeah, over there. And he came to this country in the late 90s and followed his American dream. And yeah, it's all very interconnected.
A connection between immigration and entrepreneurship. Question?
Off topic, my country with FOX. Are you planning on traveling to Rome for the Pope's funeral? And what are your hopes going forward as a new Pope is selected?
Oh, let me just say that the planning for the trip to Rome for His Holiness's funeral is something that will be put forth by the leadership in Washington from a security standpoint, and the rest of that we're not really allowed to talk about that. But there's a plan. Of course, as a devout Catholic, I've been taught, and I believe, and my family believes that I grew up in, that the Holy Ghost has an impact on the decision-making of the cardinals. There are 136 cardinals. 108 of them were named by Francis. So hopefully there will be people who respect the values that Francis has proposed. But Francis was chosen by cardinals who were selected by Benedict and John Paul. So you just don't know how it will turn out. But we'll be prayerful that the inspiration of the Holy Spirit will dominate the decision making, and that will happen sometime after the burial. Then they'll go into that. So anyone who's seen Conclave or Two Popes or any of that, we feel like we're experts in all of it now. But obviously it's something we'll all be studying, because I had the privilege of meeting with His Holiness on a number of occasions, including the first day when he was inaugurated. That's what I think they call it, inaugurated Pope on the feast of around the feast of Saint Joseph. And as you know, he has the Holy Family is very important to him, and that's why he wants to be buried in the Church of Saint Maria Maggiore in Rome. And he went there before every trip. He went there for the blessing. After every trip, he went there again. So that's what his plans are, what he wrote out that he wants to do. So it's a beautiful story. I'll just close by saying, every time I saw him, whether it was in a meeting just in his office or whatever, he would always say, "Pray for me. Pray for me." He had such humility, and he knew being Pope was a big, major. Then pray for me. And I'm like, how can you pray for us? You got a channel there, Lord. And pray for me. But now that this saintly man has gone to heaven, we pray to him. And one last thing is, when I went to see him, I had the privilege of, this was, I've seen him with my grandchildren, I've seen him with this, I've seen him in the Capitol, I've seen him, different places. But when I had the actual meeting as Speaker of the House to go there and this or that, it was something very serious, and they told me as I was going in, now, you will be obeying rules that are 400 years old, so you have to do exactly as we say as you go to see His Holiness. And so you will go to the door, he will open the door, and you will then proceed. So I go to the door, he opens the door, and I burst into tears all down my face, just seeing him. It was just so overwhelming. His reaction, I would burst into tears, he burst into laughter. He just laughed. He said, why are you crying? I said, why are you laughing? They're laughing at me crying. But it was quite, this person was quite overwhelming just to be in his presence. So may he rest in peace. Thank you all so much. Thank you. And thank you to our guests.
All right, there you have it. Nancy Pelosi speaking in San Francisco, surrounded by small business owners and a number of community leaders at issue Trump's economic impact. On the bottom right-hand side of your screen, obviously, the Pope lies in state at St. Peter's Basilica. The funeral set for this upcoming Saturday. Obviously, we will cover all things with regard to the Pope's funeral right here on Fox 5. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. It's time for a celebration in a major way. Why? Because we are celebrating all things YouTube. YouTube is turning, can you believe it, 20 years old. From the 19-second clip that started it all to billions of hours of videos, music, podcasts, the platform has literally transformed the way we are entertained and connect with the world in just 2 decades. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more is Sarah Armstrong, YouTube trends expert, and she's kind enough to hang out with us right here on the Live Zone. Good to see you, Sarah.
Thanks for having me.
Where's the confetti at? I expected, balloons and maybe a band behind you and the whole nine.
I know, right? That'll be a little bit later. I need some balloons, something a little more shimmery for this occasion.
Sarah, this is just really awesome. I think of the first YouTube video I actually watched, and I think it was the dentist one where the kid or whoever got out, left the dentist and was acting a little loopy. And so fast forward some 20 years, and we're just thinking back to all the amazing videos that have been uploaded throughout those 2 decades.
Right, David After the Dentist is one of my favorites too. The first YouTube video uploaded 20 years ago now is called Me at the Zoo, and it's the co-founder of YouTube, 19-second clip, him at the zoo, very simple. And since then, YouTube has taken off. It's the #1 streaming platform now. And so it's fun to look back at those moments like Charlie Bit My Finger, Evolution of Dance, to see what got us here.
So that video we just watched, I would assume that wasn't shot with a cell phone, was it? It was probably with a camcorder and then uploaded to YouTube. Am I correct?
It's funny to see these grainy videos, how simple they were just 20 years ago. And now we get this really produced content on YouTube. You think about talk shows like Hot Ones, where we have big celebrities coming on, and Sean Evans, he's looking for an Emmy nomination this year, or these video podcasts that are really popular and videos hitting that billion mark regularly.
Wow.
So it's amazing to see how far the platform has come.
Yeah, you just made mention of the billion mark. I can't remember what artist it happened to be, but I remember watching a music video. I rarely do that nowadays, but I went to YouTube to do so, and I looked down and noticed more than 1 billion views. It's just, it's just amazing that many people could actually watch one thing. I'm curious for you, the platform itself, what has evolved the most surrounding it?
Yeah, you talk about that billion view mark. So the music videos like Gangnam Style, that was the first one to hit both 1 billion and 2 billion. Adele's Hello was the fastest music video to hit 1 billion. But now we're seeing both short form content be really popular with YouTube Shorts and that longer form content. So Call Her Daddy video podcasts are popular now. Club Shay Shay. Gaming videos are popular, indie animators where folks are creating content on YouTube and then it becomes full-fledged franchises out in the real world. So it's pretty impressive to see how these creators are really shaping culture now.
Yeah, not only that, but isn't it amazing, or at least I find it amazing, that now I could subscribe, if you will, to any and everything that I want to watch via YouTube, meaning, whatever channel I want to watch. And remember, this just started completely different. Look at what the amazing things that are happening right now.
Right. A lot of time when we sit on the couch to watch TV, we're turning on that YouTube app and watching these videos. So content has really changed. And I love how YouTube kind of democratized that content creation. And we're still seeing that today.
So there's talk of a surprise in the YouTube logo for the anniversary. Would you mind sharing, giving us a hint?
Right. So if you go to YouTube, you'll see a fun logo celebrating the anniversary, and you can actually click in there and see a compilation of some of those viral moments through the year. I love looking at these. It's so nostalgic, so I definitely recommend folks go check it out.
All right, so we're on year 20. Let's see, next year, maybe a couple of changes. The year after that, maybe even more. Dear God, what do you think we're going to see in year 30?
Wow, in 10 years, we'll have to wait and see. I feel like each decade has been its own era. Right now, we're seeing a lot of get ready with me content, unboxing. That's been really popular.
Wow.
K-pop's popular right now. Mr. Beast continues to be the top creator on YouTube, and we see songs trending as well. So however the culture will be shaping, I think AI will be more and more part of YouTube as creators start playing with some of these tools that YouTube is introducing. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, Sarah, we'll end with this, and that is, once it's posted to YouTube, does it ever go away? Is it there forever?
It's up to the creators. So that Me at the Zoo video from 20 years ago, that's still up there. The creator and co-founder of YouTube has kept it up, and you can still watch some of those old videos. Of course, creators can choose to pull them down, but it's fun when they leave them up so we can go back and watch them.
Yeah, it's like when I go back and watch a VHS tape, a lot of the folks watching right now, they're like, what the heck is that? It's just so funny, to your point, to see how
Very
grainy
similar.
it is. Yeah, it's just really cool. Congratulations. Happy birthday, YouTube. Celebrating 20 years in a major way. Dear God, it's hard to believe I'm that old. Yet again, we've been speaking with Sarah Armstrong, YouTube trends expert, joining us right here on the Live Zone. This was fun, Sarah. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, guys, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone, you are taking a live look at the Pope as he lies in state at St. Peter's Basilica. Obviously, the funeral will get underway this upcoming Saturday, and Fox 5 will have all things with regard to the Pope's funeral. If you haven't already done so, make sure you download the Fox local app. Back here now in the Live Zone, joined with Zuri with one of the stories we're following for you throughout the remainder of the afternoon. Good to see you, Zuri. I haven't seen you in quite some time.
I know we're here on this beautiful Wednesday.
Yeah.
How you doing?
It's hard to work today. Oh, okay, so look, we got about a minute and a half left. I want to make sure we get to everything we can. Obviously, the big story of the day, what happened inside West Potomac High School, a student stabbed following, an altercation, if you will.
That's right, and our David KAPLAN is going to be covering this story for us, giving us more details. Again, a 16-year-old has been stabbed at West Potomac High School. We know that a 15-year-old is in custody. There are charges being brought against that 15-year-old, and there is a lot more that we are going to be uncovering throughout our shows. Our Fox 5 Tisha Lewis is also going to be talking to parents, getting reaction from parents with children that go to that school. So, we're going to be covering a lot with what's going on with this. This is a developing story. Anything new, we're going to be covering throughout all of the shows.
Yeah, it was really interesting to see how all of that unfolded. David was there at the press conference. We carried it live right here on the Live Zone. School officials stating that, yet again, the school is safe. This situation is contained, and counselors are actually on the premises, or were at least at that time, in order to speak to a number of students. I can only imagine what it is to be a parent, knowing that something like that happened. And to your point, Zuri, a lot of parents were outraged. They were speaking out. They were saying, hey, we want to talk to our children. The school was not on lockdown at that point. But yet again, officials wanted to make sure the crime scene had been collected, if you will. All right, that just about does it for us. Thank you, Zuri. Great job as always. Good to see you. The Take coming up next on behalf of Emmy, myself, Guy Lambert, and Zuri, who, well, we always love to see you. Just stop by really quick.
Stop by.
We'll see you again tomorrow at 12 noon, right here on Fox 5.
It's 2 o'clock on a Wednesday. That's right. Happy Wednesday. Happy beautiful Wednesday. It is spectacular out there. We're bringing the energy inside. Hopefully you got the AC pumping. You're watching us. You're looking outside.